Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday. um, okay, Thursday the 1st of August. Right, let's get on and look at these markets then. Let's just check one thing. Right, it should be working okay. Right. So first things first, let's look at the news events coming out today. We could just flick on there. Good. Okay. So expectations then today. There's it just depends on where you're looking at. It's a bit 50-50 apparently. But there is an expectation of a cut today, which has got to be priced in. I mean, it has been sitting there around about the 50-50. I'm just looking through the last few days here. It was Bank of England. It was, the whole probability was higher at the beginning there, and then it's been moving around a little bit, but whoops, wrong one. It has been falling back. It had been falling back to about 50-50. There we go, as we were running through there. So it's run to that sort of 50-50 mark. Let's get the right ones. And then yesterday it was cut probability 52%. So the probability sits there. Yeah, it is on the fence really. But it's got to be priced in because there's an expectation and the next move is a cut. But anyway, we're seeing some action here this morning which doesn't really show the show what you'd expect anyway on the pound. But there you go. It's currently moving off. It's run into its 4-hourly 200, so that should see some support, and its daily S2. I wouldn't be surprised too much if we got a bit of a bounce. It's slightly it should be right on its daily 50 here, but it's slightly short of that. So depending on the charts you're using, I guess. Yeah. So maybe there's an expectation, a slightly bigger expectation it'll be cut today. But either way, sorry, these my charts are wobbling around a little bit here. There we go. So looking at the euro dollar's still, well, it's hanging around. It's being held by its 50 MA, its daily 50 at this stage. You see the 200 here. It's looking to me soft, and a sort of a retest that 200, the 4-hourly 200 daily 50 could see price coming, starting to break down here more. It's a bit of a head and shouldery looking pattern that's going on here, not particularly strong, so it really needs to break the lows here to be of interest. We've seen the pound come off, the euro's coming off here as well. Traders not particularly convinced on the US cuts maybe, and there is a bit of possible risk off with all of the Middle East problems sitting there. Anyway, dollar yen, let's move on to dollar yen. Dollar yen has continued to strengthen yesterday, and gradually work on a little bit further. It had done most of its strengthening earlier on in the morning there, up until about 8 o'clock, and then it just slowed up a little bit here. Did manage a retrace later on, which it's then strengthened from. At the moment, it could be on for a move back to its daily pivot there, in which case I would be looking potentially at the short side from there. So that's something I'm looking at the moment. It's on my watch list still. Started on there yesterday, just didn't get an opportunity to do anything with it. The Aussie dollar likewise has been coming off here. It's selling off at the moment, relatively weak still. It did get its bit of its bounce yesterday, but we'll see how this develops. It's we sit with a lot of these currencies. We're seeing probably quite a lot of seeing things oversold. We'll see how things change. I'm just looking at here whether we start getting a breakdown. Where's the weakness with the Aussie here? Well, break of the lows. We don't have a great deal of news today apart from the Bank of England, and I'm just thinking what's going to happen here. Maybe we could see a continued correction here to the downside down towards its S1. It was already put in smaller phase here. It's put a lower high in. Okay, so it could easily continue to break. US dollar CAD. So we saw the US supplies, oil supplies, reducing yesterday, but I thought that might have had a bigger effect. We'll have a look at oil in a moment, but it might have helped the Canadian dollar out here. Just looking at what time that was. It was the earlier session up until 2 o'clock time. Yeah, 1 o'clock. Okay. Pushed on through there. Again, looking at this, it's quite messy. A break of the nearer low here could see us just confirm further downside, but it really is quite messy. What we're seeing here is, of course, there's a almost double bottom, and we're very much in an upward trend, so probably best left. New Zealand dollar, I was looking at this yesterday. New Zealand dollar, it did bounce further here. Was looking for a move into the daily pivot. It just didn't come off. If you just cut the time frames here, it's all quite messy, but didn't come off and give any reversal. There's my my line in the sand effectively. Just extend this a little bit further. For now, there's the possibility of it coming down to the pivot, but might be given support again by the 34 and 50. The way things are running, it's not really rolling over massively, and on the 4-hourly picture here, it does look a tad stronger. Higher time frames still look weak though. It's just running to the underside of the S2. Might get up to its weekly, in which case that would be my new point of selling. So I'm just going to pop an alert on there around the area. I'll just wait for the reaction to that weekly pivot, just like yesterday, waiting for the daily pivot reaction or the breakdown of the daily pivot here. Really looking for the further downside here. I'm just waiting for a reaction to that. US dollar Swissy, really just continuing lower highs. Swissy's just continued to strengthen against the dollar at the moment, solidly down there. Yes, it did have that pitch up on the news, but it wasn't long before it continued its gains against the dollar there. But it's patience on that one to get on the be on the I say long side, short side of the dolly Swissy, but I would eventually like to be on the long side, but patience. Other pairs I was looking at yesterday was Euro CAD. This didn't really do too much at all in the end. It did break down a little bit further later there. Time is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so we saw the breakdown there. It's got these lower highs, lower lows. Again, it's got potential for a bit of a continuation to the downside here. Just looks softer. We'd had some divergence over the highs there. It just looks like it might have a little bit more downside in what we're seeing here. A bit more of a correction. Bigger picture, well, it's a bit iffy, but we've got the new monthly pivot, and that could be a bit of a draw for it. Finally, I was looking at the Euro Swissy yesterday. I'm just sort of looking at what I was looking at yesterday here, and this has continued to sell. Let's moved back. Come on, there we go. So really, it was just quite a mess there. In the morning, it had already sold there. Just not an easy one to get into, but it has continued on the southbound journey there. Okay, so not a great deal here. There's a couple of things. New Zealand dollar possibly waiting for action on this. Really looking now the way it's moving, perhaps into its new monthly pivot. But otherwise, quite just to confirm the news, by the way, I sort of started off looking at the calendar here and didn't really continue on this. So today we do still have the OPEC meetings going on, so something could come out of that. But Bank of England at 12 o'clock. We've got the governor speaking at 12:30. Generally, when he speaks, he's there for cuts, etc. But it's not always. It's just a bit of a general statement there. We've got the manufacturing data coming in for the US at 2:45/3 o'clock. So a couple of numbers there, not massive numbers, but all the same could create some volatility. Okay, looked at the currencies. Let's just look at the other markets here. Firstly, let's have a quick look at gold. So gold continued to push up yesterday. It's come off. It's off a bit at the moment. Looking at what it's doing here, if it continues this ride down to the daily pivot, it'll have put a lower high in. But whilst doing that, depending on the reaction to the pivot, if it gets a bit of a bid come from there, if we start seeing some buying coming in from there and a reversal, it could be traded still to the upside. There's quite a lot of uncertainty out there at the moment, and gold tends to do well in uncertain times. Looking at oil, where you gone? Oil, there we go. There's oil. Let's go from the big time frame here. So not a great shock in terms of the data that was coming out there, and it's just broken that trend line right the way through. Consolidating where it is at the moment, right at the highs there, might suggest further upside. Generally, I'm looking at a movement, a continuation. This is doing just that. We could, the pivots are so wide apart, we could see the R1 hit first. We'll see how things shape up on that, but again, for me it's an afternoon trade, oil. And we've got, of course, risk on the oil side of things in a couple of ways. The action in the Middle East there, and the OPEC meeting. Right, that's that. And finally, S&Ps. So yeah, S&P's off slightly this morning, but a decent bounce yesterday, a decent recovery there. They liked what they heard on the 7 o'clock meeting. It got a bit ugly at times there, but largely it was most were liking what they were hearing. The results wise, Nvidia produced again to push the markets, or help push the markets up. The Nasdaq here, or US Tech as it's shown on most brokers that don't want to pay for the feed. It's sitting there just fractionally short of this month's pivot at the moment. It'd be interesting to see if it gets any reaction into that. But it is just selling a little bit at the moment, but maybe some profit taking going on first thing. But I'm a little bit suspicious on this move back into its pivot here, but we do have quite a lot of data still to be released later. Right, okay, the Dow's off this morning a little bit here as well. Much messier, the Dow on the dailies here, off quite a bit. It shows off the moment. It didn't push. It's not tech stocks have lesser effect. So Dow, sorry, I'm looking not at the Dow at all. Let's try again. There we go. Coming off, still coming off a little bit, not as much as I was looking. Actually, it did do quite a reasonable recovery yesterday. Beg your pardon. I've flicked onto the DAX here. The DAX still messy, and the FTSE. Okay, we saw the breakout yesterday. That had happened in the earlier stages. The FTSE having a reasonable time. It is consolidating around the highs. An interest rate cut today would be a positive sign for the FTSE. Lower interest rates are always good for equity markets, so we'll see. The traders probably pricing in the cut that's sitting there at the moment, but it is a bit on the edge there. And we know how the central bank here, the Bank of England, can be. Anyway, right, I shall leave you there. I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now.